Part 1, The Poison Feast. The rich aroma of smoked brisket drifted across the manicured lawn of my cousin's upscale suburban estate. It was one of those textbook early autumn family reunions where everyone wore their most expensive casual linen and put on strained smiles, pretending our family tree wasn't rotting at the roots. Sitting next to me at the cedar picnic table was my 17-year-old daughter, Chloe. Diagnosed with ADHD and severe social anxiety early in childhood, Chloe had spent her entire life navigating a world that felt entirely too loud. But beneath her quiet demeanor lay a brilliant graphic designer, an incredibly empathetic soul, and a girl with more backbone than most corporate executives I interacted with daily. "So, Chloe," my cousin Victoria called out, her voice cutting through the ambient chatter of the patio. "How is that alternative schooling working out? Are you still in those accommodated classes?" Chloe stiffened slightly, keeping her eyes glued to her plate. "It's going well. I really love my advanced digital illustration course." "Illustration, how charming," Victoria replied, her voice dripping with that signature condescending sweetness she had spent a lifetime perfecting. "Very artsy. It's so wonderful they find little hobbies to keep children like you occupied." Her husband, Bradley, let out a soft, dismissive chuckle from the head of the table. Their two teenagers, draped in designer sportswear at the opposite end, didn't even look up from their phones. Top-tier private school athletes, Ivy League prospects, pristine resumes, Victoria never missed a single breath to remind the family of her genetic perfection. "Actually," I interjected, keeping my voice cool and steady, "Chloe didn't just take a class. She just placed first in a national digital art showcase, competing against over 300 adult applicants." Victoria's plastic smile tightened, failing to reach her eyes. "Oh, that is precious. Honestly, those participation certificates are so vital for kids with her limitations. It's so good for their self-esteem." "It wasn't a participation certificate," I said, my tone turning dangerously calm. "She won the grand prize. The judges voted unanimously." "Well, of course, within her specific bracket," Victoria scoffed, dismissively waving her manicured hand. "But let's be grounded here. Your daughter is always going to need a safety net, extra modifications, and heavily sheltered environments. That's just her reality." The entire table fell dead silent. My aunt suddenly became intensely interested in flipping the corn on the grill. My brother intently studied the texture of his potato salad. Victoria's kids glanced up briefly, smirked, and returned to their screens. Chloe's fork stopped moving. I noticed her knuckles turning white against the metal. That tiny, subtle tremor in her lower lip told me everything. She was fighting back tears in front of the people who were supposed to love her. "Look, I'm just being the brave one here and speaking the truth," Victoria continued, feeding on the uncomfortable silence. "We can't all raise prodigies. Some children simply lack the wiring to be exceptional, and that's nobody's fault. But as parents, we have to guard against delusion. Right, Bradley?" Bradley nodded like a well-trained dog. "Victoria is just looking out for you. She sits on the board of several youth foundations, so she handles these types of underdeveloped cases constantly." "Exactly," Victoria beamed. "I see it every day. Dependent kids who will likely never manage their own households, who will always be a financial drain on their parents. And honestly, there's no shame in her living with you forever." She let out a high-pitched, musical laugh, attempting to mask her blatant cruelty as lighthearted banter. A few relatives offered weak, terrified chuckles just to break the tension. I looked at my daughter. Her face was flushed crimson, her gaze fixed entirely on her lap. 17 years of watching her fight through panic attacks, 17 years of people writing her off, only to have her own blood relative reduce her entire future to a charity case in front of the whole family. "You know, Victoria," I said softly, placing my napkin neatly on the table, "maybe you're completely right. Perhaps I haven't been looking at the finances realistically enough." Victoria nodded, immensely satisfied with herself. "I'm so glad you're finally mature enough to accept it. It's painful to face reality, but it saves you from massive disappointment down the road." "Excuse me for a moment," I said, standing up smoothly. "I need to take care of an urgent matter." I walked into the house, leaving my phone on the table. I didn't need to make a call. I needed to remove myself before I tore down that backyard with my bare words. I needed to breathe. And most importantly, I needed to execute what I had been contemplating for a very long time. Through the large kitchen window, I watched Victoria continuing her lecture, gesturing grandly to the rest of the silent table. My aunt looked deeply uncomfortable but kept her mouth shut. Chloe had quietly slipped away from the table, sitting by herself on the dark steps of the garden shed. I pulled my laptop from my briefcase, booted it up, opened my secure portal, and began composing an email. Part 2, The Silent Collapse. The next morning, my house was peaceful until exactly 8:30 a.m. I was standing at the kitchen island, slowly pouring hot water over fresh coffee grounds, when Victoria's name illuminated my phone screen. I didn't pick up. I let it ring until it cut to voicemail. Then it rang again, and a third time. On the fourth consecutive call, I finally slid the green button and placed the phone on speaker. "What exactly did you do?" Victoria's voice wasn't just angry, it was trembling with a raw, unhinged panic I had never heard from her before. "Good morning to you too, Victoria," I said, taking a calm sip from my mug. "Is something wrong?" "The administration at Vanguard Preparatory Academy just called me," she hissed, her breathing ragged. "They informed me that the private endowment covering 70% of the tuition for both of my children has been permanently revoked. Effective immediately. Do you have any explanation for this?" I leaned against the counter. "Why on earth would I have information regarding your children's private schooling arrangements?" "Because it was you," she shrieked, the realization finally crashing down on her. "The anonymous trust fund. The one that's been paying nearly $50,000 a year for their enrollment. That was your doing, wasn't it?" "I'm not entirely sure what phantom donors you're referring to," I replied smoothly. "Stop playing games with me," Victoria screamed. "Vanguard costs $35,000 per student annually. Without that endowment, there is absolutely no way Bradley and I can keep them enrolled. The dean said the benefactor pulled the entire funding structure overnight." "Well, that is incredibly unfortunate," I said, my tone completely flat. "Have you looked into the local public school district? I've heard their remedial and general tracks are quite functional. Very practical for keeping kids busy." A heavy, suffocating silence hung on the other end of the line. I could hear her sharp, shallow breaths. "This is about yesterday afternoon, isn't it?" Victoria said finally, her voice dropping into a tight, venomous whisper. "This is your petty revenge for what I said regarding Chloe's future. I honestly don't recall you saying anything particularly memorable yesterday," I lied, enjoying the absolute control I held over the conversation. "I was just being transparent with you," she defended, her voice cracking. "I was trying to help you establish grounded, realistic expectations for a child who clearly lacks basic capabilities. And now you're ruining my children's lives." "And I am simply being realistic about my own financial portfolio," I countered, letting the ice in my voice show. "I've recently realized that I need to be far more selective about where I allocate my capital. And since we're discussing realistic expectations, I should probably mention that I've also instructed my accountant to terminate the monthly wire transfers to your personal account." Another long, agonizing pause. "The 4,000? Victoria whispered, all the arrogance completely drained from her posture. "Yes, Victoria. The $4,000 I have quietly deposited into your checking account every single month for the last 3 years. By my calculations, that's roughly $144,000 of pure charity. I have the bank receipts fully archived if your accountant needs to audit the documentation. But that money was for our lifestyle. We thought that was part of the family estate allocation," she stammered. "You thought it was what? A handout from our grandparents? A magical dividend?" I laughed, a cold, sharp sound. "No, Victoria. That was me carrying my insecure cousin who constantly complained about how expensive it was to maintain the appearance of wealth, how difficult it was to pay for the country club memberships, and how Bradley's mid-level salary couldn't quite cover the illusion of your perfect life. You can't do this to us," she whimpered, her voice losing all its power. "I can and I just did," I said firmly. "Just like you cannot realistically expect people to fund your entire existence while you treat their children like second-class citizens. You brought this reality check on yourself." Part 3, The Cost of Arrogance. Before Victoria could find her voice to reply, a sharp knock rattled my front door. Looking through the side glass, I saw my aunt's silver sedan parked unevenly in the driveway. "Victoria, I have to let you go," I said smoothly. "Good luck navigating the registration paperwork at the local public high school. I hear their community integration programs are highly inclusive. Exactly what family is for. I cut the call before the incoming wave of screeching could clear the speaker. Opening the door, I found my aunt standing on the porch, her expression a volatile mix of panic and deep maternal offense. "Victoria just called me hyperventilating," my aunt said without greeting me, pushing her way into the foyer. "She said you completely severed their safety net overnight. What on earth is happening between you two? Would you like a fresh cup of coffee, Aunt Eleanor?" I asked, turning toward the kitchen. "Don't try to change the subject. Why are you doing this to your own flesh and blood?" I poured her a mug and set it firmly on the counter between us. Did Victoria happen to mention the exact words she directed at Chloe yesterday afternoon? The ones she broadcasted to the entire picnic table? My aunt sighed heavily, her shoulders dropping. "She told me she was simply being practical about the girl's future limitations. She says you completely misconstrued her intentions." Eleanor, she looked a 17-year-old girl in the eyes, in front of her entire family, and casually declared that she lacked the basic mental hardware to ever live independently or build a real life. And then she laughed about it. "She didn't mean it maliciously," my aunt pleaded, staring at the steam rising from her coffee. "You know how Victoria is. She just speaks unfiltered. Then she can experience the unfiltered consequences of her mouth," I replied coldly. "Chloe spent 2 hours crying in her studio last night. I am no longer interested in heavily subsidizing the lifestyle of a woman who mistakes my quiet generosity for weakness and uses it to demean my child. But her kids will be the ones paying the price," Eleanor argued. "Vanguard is an elite institution. They don't deserve to have their entire social standing stripped away. Public education is entirely free, Eleanor. Millions of brilliant children graduate from public schools every single year. Or, alternatively, Victoria and Bradley can finally figure out how to actually earn the lifestyle they've been pretending to own. That is what capable adults do." My aunt looked deeply into her mug. "She called you vindictive and cruel." "I'm sure she did. Did she call herself a parasite? Did she express a single ounce of remorse for breaking my daughter's spirit?" Silence filled the kitchen. "That's exactly what I thought," I said. "Look, I care about Victoria. She's my cousin. But I am completely done paying the bills for a family that views mine as lesser." By noon, my phone was a graveyard of notifications. 7 missed calls from Victoria, 4 increasingly aggressive text messages from Bradley, and a massive email from my brother urging me to keep the family peace. I ignored every single one of them. Around lunchtime, Chloe walked into the kitchen, holding her phone out toward me with a puzzled expression. "Mom, why is Aunt Victoria texting me directly? Look at this." I took the phone. The message read, "Chloe, I am so incredibly sorry if my clumsy comments upset you yesterday. You are such a unique, special girl. Could you please ask your mother to check her messages and call me back immediately? She wants her funding back," I said plainly, handing the device back to her. Chloe looked down. "The money you've been secretly wire transferring to them? I saw the ledger entries on your desk last winter." "Yes, past tense. I stopped the transfers." "Because of what she said to me?" "Partly," I admitted. "But mostly because I realized I was actively funding her delusion of superiority while she looked down on us from a tower built with my own money." Chloe fell silent for a moment, processing. "So, her kids will actually have to transfer to a regular school?" "Highly likely. Unless their parents find a way to pay for it themselves." "That's going to be a massive shock for them," Chloe murmured. "Yes, it will. But that is their parents' burden to carry, not yours to worry about." She nodded slowly, staring at the text. "She called me special in the message. But the way she writes it, it feels like a label. Like a polite way of saying broken." "I know, sweetie. I'm sorry." "It's okay," Chloe said, looking up with a quiet, fierce confidence. "I know my brain works differently. But different doesn't mean incapable. You're the one who showed me that." I pulled her into a tight hug. This incredibly talented, resilient, brilliant girl who saw through the superficial noise of the world far clearer than any of the adults sitting at that barbecue ever could. "You want to know something ironic, Mom?" Chloe said, pulling back with a small, knowing smile. "Victoria's kids. They're actually in my online advanced design community. We collaborated on a few projects last semester. They have all the expensive software, but honestly, they completely freeze up the moment a problem requires original thinking. I usually have to redesign their layouts because they can't think outside the box. I let out a genuine laugh. Really? Yeah. They're great at following rigid templates they memorize in class, but the second the rules change, they completely panic. They get furious when things don't follow the exact structure they expect. Well, I said, looking out the window, life rarely follows the exact structure we expect. They're about to get a very thorough lesson in that. Part 4. The Currency of Change. That evening, an unexpected notification lit up my inbox. It was an official email from the headmaster of Vanguard Preparatory Academy. Apparently, Victoria had spent the afternoon storming the administrative offices, demandingly interrogating the staff to unmask the identity of the anonymous benefactor. The headmaster's response had been a masterclass in bureaucratic execution. He politely informed her that private donors possessed every legal right to redirect their philanthropy at their sole discretion, and if her family faced sudden constraints regarding tuition coverage, the Academy would be more than happy to discuss standard payment plans or facilitate their transition to the public school system. What Victoria never realized was that my endowment wasn't just covering her household. I had been quietly financing the education of 3 other families at Vanguard whose parents had fallen on genuine, unforeseen hardships. Those scholarships remained completely untouched. I wasn't interested in collateral damage or punishing innocent students. I was simply finished subsidizing my cousin's fabricated superiority complex. 2 weeks passed in complete radio silence. Then, on a Tuesday evening, Victoria appeared on my porch without warning. She looked noticeably drained, the carefully curated, glossy exterior completely stripped away. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked, her voice quiet. I opened the door, letting her into the living room, and offered her a seat. She declined, pacing nervously near the window. "The kids are starting at Jefferson High next Monday," she said, staring out at the driveway. "Bradley and I toured it. It's actually much better than I anticipated." "That's good to hear," I replied neutrally. "I came to say I'm sorry for what I said to Chloe. I was entirely out of line." I stayed silent, letting the weight of the moment force her to continue. "I've spent the last 2 weeks reevaluating everything," she admitted, tears finally welling up in her eyes. "And I realized something ugly about myself. I was deeply jealous of you. You've always been entirely self-sufficient. You built your agency from scratch, raised Chloe on your own terms, and never once begged anyone for a handout. I couldn't do that. I desperately needed help, but instead of carrying gratitude, I carried resentment. I projected my own insecurities by constantly looking for areas where I thought you were failing. And Chloe was just an easy target because her mind doesn't conform to my rigid little boxes. It was cruel, and I am genuinely ashamed." I didn't offer immediate absolution. I let her words settle into the room. "I'm not here to beg for the money back," she added quickly, wiping her cheek. "Bradley and I actually sat down and faced our real bank statements for the first time in years. We can't afford elite private institutions without charity, but we can afford our actual life. And maybe that's exactly what my kids need. Maybe they don't need a massive trust fund education to turn out decent. They'll adapt," I said softly. "Teenagers are resilient. I know you probably don't trust this apology. I know it looks like a calculated move. But I needed you to know that I finally see what I've become. And I'm going to change it." I nodded slowly. "I appreciate you saying that, Victoria. I truly hope you mean it. Time will tell." She turned to leave but paused awkwardly at the threshold. "Did Chloe really win that National Digital Showcase?" "She did," I smiled proudly. "She outperformed over 300 adult applicants, most of whom had formal university degrees." Victoria smiled sadly, looking down. I wish I had actually asked her about her designs. Truly asked instead of writing them off. "She's upstairs in her studio right now," I said, gesturing toward the stairs. "You can still ask her." Victoria looked startled, a flicker of genuine hope crossing her face. Would that be okay with her?" "That is entirely up to Chloe." I watched from the shadows of the hallway as Victoria walked up the stairs and hesitantly knocked on the open studio door. "Hey Chloe, your mom mentioned you won an incredible art showcase. Could you show me some of your layouts?" My daughter looked up, initially guarded, analyzing her aunt's posture. But as she saw the genuine humility in Victoria's eyes, Chloe slowly pulled up her digital portfolio. Within minutes, she was explaining her design process, cautiously at first, Then with that infectious, radiant enthusiasm she only showed when she was completely in her element. Victoria just sat there, listening intently and asking real, insightful questions. It wasn't instant redemption, and it certainly wasn't complete forgiveness. But it was a foundational start. Sometimes, people genuinely need to lose the safety net before they appreciate the ground they walk on. They need to face the unedited consequences of their actions before they can ever alter their behavior. And sometimes, the absolute greatest gift you can offer someone isn't your continued financial enablement of their toxic habits, but the invaluable opportunity to learn directly from their own failures. Victoria had to learn that lesson the hard way. But at the very least she learned it. As for Chloe, she is thriving. Her portfolio is expanding, her confidence is unshakable, and she is currently preparing for her first major gallery exhibition. She finally recognizes her true value, not because the world gave her an accommodated label, but because she proved her brilliance entirely on her own terms. And in the end, that is the only validation that ever truly matters.